Greetings, welcome to Unknown for the Most Likely. Today we have a special guest, Cott. He is known for such projects as Concede. Really experimental jazz with like a fucking cool clarinet and shit. I might be wrong, but so Clay's comes from a very cool scene of a lot of memories in the punk scene. So you probably, if you've ever seen him at punk shows in the past, such as any SNFU shows, any shows in the past, and Dayglow Abortions and stuff like that, you might have seen him there. He's been putting on shows under the production's name, Threadbread Productions. It's something that has been happening out in Prince Albert, and been trying to build a scene up out in Prince Albert. So here we go. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going
Oh,
today?
I'm here. Got the day job going and stuff like that, but taking a break from that.
Excellent. So you just released some new music under Concede?
Concise, yeah. I just
Concise?
put another track out. I've had a few tracks that have been sort of like just stalemating since before I moved back to Prince Albert. So I was just like during the winter season, I'd sort of made an effort to just get some of that stuff off so I can concentrate on some new music, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, Honestly, I would love just to kind of start basically. Like we met a couple of years back and stuff, and it was really lucky being able to like play a show with you. And I was hearing that you've been to like tons of shows in the past through BC. Like used to live in BC, correct?
Yeah, I basically I moved out there in '84. Was mostly on Salt Spring until late high school, and then I started uh, living in Vancouver pretty much, and fell into some places with just punk houses and warehouses and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And since about '93, yeah. So I mean, yeah, I've been to a lot of the different outings there. It's just like when I first started going, a lot of them were just booze cans. There was no real like. I mean, there was some legitimate bar shows, but the most of the good ones that I remember or have most of the memories of were fond memories were all the warehouse gigs and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it was like um, SNFU and Dayglows. I didn't really see Dayglows until farther on, but it was just like one of those chance sort of things. But New York Theater had a lot of fundraisers and stuff like that. DOA, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the one warehouse that I lived in had quite a few people that have gone on to notoriety, and I don't really feel like name dropping them all because it would be a long list. But
Yeah.
I first started, I was just basically hanging out in the studio, and I started riffing some lyrics over, and the guitarist from the band, the Mothertrucker, just said, "Hey, would you like to sing for us?" And since before then, they were just instrumental, so that was kind of a neat thing to jump onto for sure.
So you were in a part of another project called Mothertruck?
Mothertrucker, yeah, that was it's. I would say by today's standard, it would be called stoner rock or
Oh
riff
yeah.
rock if you
Yeah.
prefer. But back then, it was. I mean, it's still pretty heavy, some of the stuff, and like it's not really. We're not really defunct or anything. It's just like we haven't really done any shows or anything like that. But I'd probably rip out to BC, if I had to do a couple shows, or I've been trying to get them to come out here. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What did you end up moving to Saskatchewan? You said later.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah, I moved back here because I grew up here until I was like 14, 15.
okay.
But actually, no, I took my driver's license here. So yeah, I was 16 before I moved to BC. But
Hmm.
yeah, but I moved back during COVID on the 20 in 21.
Okay.
because I got laid off of work and I just put all my shit in the U-Haul and just ripped out here, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
How's your experience so far in Saskatchewan? Do you think it's been something like almost like home, or do you think it like has definitely feels lost? Like I think just as Saskatchewan has been kind of like almost like a Texas.
I really think that the scene out here is pretty vibrant. There's a lot of different variety,
Hmm.
no matter what genre you talk about. And like Regina and Saskatoon in particular have a massive scene. Like I just did Sound for the Right to Skate show down there for the fundraiser for
Awesome.
skateboarding and stuff. And it's just like the sheer amount of people that come out, it's just amazing. And it's just like up here in Prince Albert, there still isn't really that word of mouth, or maybe it's just me misfiring on how to promote stuff right. But I mean, I just try to put out the word out as much as I can, put it
Hmm.
on the free billboards, all that sort of stuff. And it's just, it's that dichotomy between where you think you should be by now versus how far you've come. And when you look back at how far you've come and you realize how much stuff that you've done and how many people are just appreciative of what you're bringing here, as opposed to, well, I think I should be at XYZ by now. I mean, you're everybody's always like that, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're on the top or on the bottom. You always think that you could be doing more with the time that you have, even though you're completely exhausted, right?
Hmm.
So there's definitely that.
When it was when did you just start to decide to want to put on shows?
Well, actually, it was like one of the regulars that comes around, Kai. I saw her at a McDonald's, really, at the Walmart, and she was wearing a battle jacket. And I was like, "Hey, where do you go for shows around here?" And go, "Oh, just Saskatoon." And I was like, "Okay, I gotta put an effort in to like get people." It's just like it's so ludicrous that you spend almost 3 hours on the road, the gas money, the food money, when you could just go see a show here for $10 in advance, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like the logic, you know, it's it's just like it just seems like for local shows it should be easier to do than to have to go travel 3 hours round trip to see some shows, right? So
Yeah, it's really a pain in the ass for a lot of
right,
people.
right,
Um, I've been trying to, I've been loving to see like, the city grow, especially Prince Albert and stuff, and like people coming out of there, and and
yeah,
making music. It's just like wake up Prince Albert a little bit and stuff because I feel like everybody's stuck in a box. Like
yeah,
I've been saying this
yeah,
like a lot of episodes. I feel like a lot of people are stuck in boxes. Don't we aren't able to like what we want to because it's generalized.
yeah.
So
There's definitely that.
yeah.
For sure. And but I mean, like it's also like COVID really stalemated a lot of stuff. A lot of people would just rather sit at home on their screens and watch something. And I've been
Mm-hmm.
really trying to struggle with this, the idea that how do you get people to realize that the visceral experience, like actually being there, is an order of magnitude greater than watching it on screen. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
you were there, you saw them perform, and it doesn't matter if they're, you know, top tier or bottom tier. It's just like being there. Like, I mean, I was just reminiscing about this show, No Means No. It was a word of mouth show in the 90s. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, every punk house got a call from somebody in the know that said, No Means No is playing at Station Street, $6 a person. And basically, everybody just shit, shower, shaved, and got out to the show,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know what I mean? And it was a blast. But I mean, there was no pre planning of it or anything like that. But everybody that went there, like, there was people mentioning like, oh, I was at that show, that was just amazing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And I think there's just going to have to be some of those clinch pin moments in the city where people will just be like, why weren't you there? That was like the craziest show ever, right? And I know Prince Albert did have a scene back before I even came back. Like they had a lot of shows at the Union Center and stuff like that that were
Mm-hmm.
just amazing. And I keep hearing these stories, but I don't see that old crowd coming out to the shows. But Prince Albert's a pretty hard city
Oh
too,
yeah.
right?
Oh
So
yeah.
so I see a lot of like maybe some parents to the all agers going like, no, you're not going out now. It's 9 o'clock at night. You're not going out there, right? You know what I mean? And I get that. So, but what's the flip side to that, right? Like, okay, so do we do like Sunday matinee? Like, because I'm totally for that. Like, just get me involved. Like, where can I do them? Right. So,
Yeah.
so it's definitely that. But I mean, yeah, it's a hard city, but I still think, and it, I don't know. When I was here, when I was like 14 and stuff, it really didn't change. I mean, I was living on a farm, but like Prince Albert was still hardcore. I mean, I remember getting into going out to Little Red, and there was, you know, altercations out there all the time back in the 80s. So what's changed, right? The only
Hmm.
thing that can change is like the people that are involved in trying to do things. So, you know, that's that's where I think it is like, it's just like you got to just keep striving to show that there is things to do. It's just a matter of you getting out there and being a part of it. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like I've kind of seen some people when I came up there and played some shows, and it's just like seeing different people where it's just like, oh, this person's actually into like supporting like local music. It's like
Right.
it's a start for something. At least for Prince Albert too, because Prince Albert has been struggling for a couple of years with like even to get like a big show for like everybody to come out to and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm just glad that like people are more are still pushing, especially around Saskatchewan, trying to get more shows happening and get more people out to PA shows. And I think there's
Yep.
like I think it's just like it shouldn't just be word of mouth. I think it should just be like like posting it up on like Facebook, getting exciting. I think it's just like, not a lot of excitement is like, for like, any local shows. Every
Yeah.
other show people want to go to, like, are $30 shows, and you're buying like fucking how much for merch and shit like that. It's
Right.
just like, yeah.
Yeah, and that's me too. I've been trying to keep it really low cost because a lot of y'all age group, right? It's
Mhm.
they look at the price of even $10 in advance and they're just like, where am I supposed to get this from, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like I, for local bands, that's fine. I could probably do free shows and everybody be just happy to play. But when
Yeah.
you've got a touring band coming through and they're not even making enough to get, a tank of gas and some beef jerky, it's a really hard sell to get them to come back,
Yeah.
right? But on the converse side, like even though there's been some shows which may not have had much attendance, I've had bands going, "Oh my God, like we sold all so much merch." Like one band was telling me it was averaging out to $25 per person that showed up.
That's awesome.
So when you get that sort of stuff, like it's plus and minus, but uh, there's a lot of places that don't want to have live bands during the week, right? So
Hmm.
I've had a lot of bands coming through Saskatchewan in particular just saying, "Hey, do you got anything on a weekday night?" Because like nobody will like open up the bar for us, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, like even if it's and I've had bands just stay at my place. Like they've had no show here, but they've just stayed here on their way through, and I'm totally happy with that. Like, stay here, don't get a hotel room, please. Like I know how hard it is. Don't do that. Just stay here, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, even as just a pit stop and you might not even have a show here, I'm totally glad to like just have people stay here because yeah, it's just rough, man. It's like you can't tour if you have to tour across Saskatchewan with no show, it's just wasted space. You know what I mean? Wasted time, wasted space. So yeah.
Good on you trying to get like in a community together, man. It's really like awesome seeing this. Um, I was really interested when I found out you were doing music under Concise, and it's just like it's something like I listened to like John Zorn's uh
Right.
like material, and his shit's fucking like nuts.
Hmm.
It's always nuts. And I was when I was like hearing that, I was just like hearing, oh, jazz and jazz instruments making noise. I fucking love it. I think
Right.
it's like it's like a scream a little bit. It's sometimes like, a wailing of like, suffering into an instrument, but also kind of creating the chaos into it and stuff. Where did you start thinking you were kind of going from punk to like experimental and so on?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I mean, like when I was young, like Devo was coming out and stuff like that, and it really sort of pointed to like, you know, instruments don't necessarily like there is the defined way to use an instrument, but even way back in the 50s with Link Ray, he was poking holes in his speaker cones and like stapling his strings to his guitar fretboard. Like he was doing or sawing into the side of it to get a particular sound. And it's like all music is noise, right? Or all noise is music. It doesn't matter which way you flip it. It's just how you're presenting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But yeah, John Zorn was a big influence too. Once I started getting into him, I probably have to thank my friend Hero for getting me into that. Both the Naked Lunch and the Locust Solus albums were just amazing. When he was Locust Solus in particular, where he's got some DJs that are just basically spinning records at like light speed and then letting them slow down naturally and yeah, that sort of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
just that tapestry of sound, right? That all works together. And then like the one song that I got is Insight Harmony. It's kind of like you've got all these different chaotic noises that somehow with repetition the patterns repeat and then start to syncopate, right? So and that's really all music is. If you get a drummer and a bass player together and they're just fiddling around jamming, eventually it becomes it becomes syncopated and there's an actual groove to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But even just like when I was living on the farm, you'd just be like hanging out and you'd be tapping stuff together, whether it was bones or hitting like the guy wire to the telephone
Yeah.
pole to get that sound that Star Wars had in it. So you know what I mean? So you and then you'd start to say, oh, like the whole aspect of Foley arts also being part of the whole jazz and the noise, like
Mm-hmm.
like how do you make a sound of a horse galloping? You use coconuts. It's like so there's all that improvisation based on like again like is this instrument being used wrong? It's producing a noise that's musical to some people, so
Yeah.
it's enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I think sounds now are more, they're in wide range of like sounds out there. People hide it in their music like a little bit, but then like I feel like for some people it's just like, it's either original or it's like, someone from your fucking team suggested to put it into your track and you have to like credit them. It's just better when it's like it's created by someone who wants to do it and they put all their effort into it. They like put their heart and soul into it and stuff. Because I just feel like a lot of people out there who are trying to portray noise in some of like the music is trying to make it a trendy thing, and
Yeah, I
I'm
get you.
really wrong. It's wrong. I feel so
I
like.
think that's true too. But it happens over and over again in
Mhm.
the cyclical nature of genres and stuff like that. Like when Faith No More came out, all of a sudden you had all these metal bands that were trying to incorporate synthesizer into their metal and stuff like that. I'm not saying that Faith No More is exactly a metal band or whatever, but you get what I
Yeah,
mean, right?
yeah,
Like everybody started to try and copy that ideal or even Nine Inch Nails or any sort of like that
yeah,
hip hop and rock sort of hybrid stuff like it's like and and sometimes there's genuine like want to do it that way and then there's other times that there's just like as you say just trying to make it appeal to the majority, right? So I mean, and how do you tell the difference? You can't really. It's in a way, right? It's like sometimes it's just a matter of whatever like it's hard to tell sometimes what is genuine and what is just trying to do it for the sake of it.
yeah. Sometimes. I don't know. I've been kind of seeing it like this, how it is like that people will release something to Spotify and stuff like that, and like it'll be like something you'll hear on the radio, and then you go somewhere else that isn't Spotify and stuff, and you'll hear like of like a bad name. It's always like always depending on a band name sometimes, or just like even like the genre. But I don't know. I see a little difference in hip hop, which is good. They're going into a very punk direction.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, uh, do you see punk and hip hop in the future going like full fledged like 80s, like how Bad Brains went and stuff? Because like I'm starting to see a little pattern of that in punk lately, but
Yeah.
still there's a lot of poser punk.
Oh, of course. I mean, but like that's like with any genre, really, right? I mean, uh, it's it's interesting though, because like if you look at uh like the LA scene, there was a lot of crossover between where people played as far as hip hop and punk, right? Like they used
Mm-hmm.
some of the same venues, especially for the underground stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it's it just all like the whole idea of genres is almost a pigeonhole, and the idea of
Yeah,
music and creativity is to not be pigeonholed, right?
yeah,
So as soon as people start saying like this is hip hop and this is punk and neither the twain shall meet, that's just ludicrous, right?
yeah,
Because it's
yeah,
just like you can't. It's like I don't know. It's like yes, there's jazz elements to punk and there's punk elements to jazz and there's like uh look at Meshuggah. Like they use like
yeah.
time signatures that are way jazz,
Oh
right?
my
Like dig out your,
gosh, yeah,
So I mean, like people grab influences from everywhere, and that's great.
it
That's the
is.
way it
Yeah,
should be, you know.
totally fine.
So when people cross their arms and say like this, what do they mean? This isn't hardcore or whatever the case is, right?
Yeah,
This isn't ballet. It's like, well, who are you to judge? Like, and I usually find that the people that judge things the most are the types that have usually have had a lot of theoretical training into it and are kind of like, I don't want to say indoctrinated, but that's the word that's coming to mind,
yeah,
in that they have been told how to critique and appreciate music. They can't let go. It's like watching a movie that has bad physics, and you can't just like, some people can let go and some people have their like, no, there's no way gravity would work like that. And it's just like, can you just watch the movie and enjoy it, right?
yeah.
It's the same with music or any other art form. So, yeah,
So with um, we have at least 7 minutes left of this, and I'm appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's been like a long time coming.
for sure.
Um, I would love to definitely see you more in the future. Hopefully, we have more shows happening in Prince Albert and stuff.
There's
Maybe get more
more in the
stuff in
pipeline for
Saskatoon.
sure. Yeah,
Awesome.
the Greg Rekus and Mimosa is this January 18th, this Saturday. Greg Rekus is like acoustic punk, and Mimosa is like a hip hop artist that does some acoustic songs as well.
Oh,
She was
that's
at the Right to Skate, and I was amazed. I thought she was really great. So,
that
yeah,
actually sounds really exciting. Like with that question that was talking about punk and hip hop,
right.
how like with everybody else in the world seeing, it should be normal to have like hip hop and punk on the same bill.
Yeah,
It should be the same thing here, but
right.
it has been forced to feel like we have to be a certain look or and way.
And I've always been, variety is the spice of life, right?
Yeah,
So like back in the day, we used to have some bands, like we'd have a punk band, a metal band, and a band that
yeah,
just wasn't classifiable, right? So we'd have these like, sometimes it would be the whole, like the Friday and Saturday night, and you'd have like
hmm
that stuff like that. Other times it'd be full metal or full punk bills, but when you get bills that have more than one genre on it, you've got all your friends coming out, because it's like, well, I don't really like metal. It's like, well, it's not just metal tonight. There's punk and hip hop as well. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I can come, and if I'm having a good time, I'll wait and I'll watch the rest, right?
yeah.
So,
What has your favorite show been that you've thrown so far?
Oh man, there's been so many. The most, well, I can go through some ones. The most exhausting was probably the the show at the fair because that was 2 days and it was like Lachinga and Supermodel Taxidermy, Autopilot, Alien to the Ignorant, DSO, Atomic Yeti. Who else was on there? Cambodian Death Camp. That was the most exciting but most rewarding. It was a really good time outside. So, I mean, it was kind of that. But the Dead Bob show was, of course, really amazing too. Just that was like probably the biggest show. The one that I have had the, I'm trying to think of the one that was the most fun. See, the problem is that usually I've got so many hats and I'm running around. So I'm doing
Yeah.
sound and I'm all that stuff that the time that I get to appreciate is when the bands are on stage and I'm mixing and I just like everything else just flows away and I'm just grateful that the bands are on stage, right? But there's been, I don't know, it's really hard to pick just one that was really my ultimate favorite sort of thing.
Hmm.
But that's sort of like a 15-minute thinker sort of thing. Because there's been just so many great shows, right? So yeah.
um, yeah, no, honestly, uh, I really want to keep on put. I would love to be able to like put up posters here in Saskatoon eventually, or something, and get like people to come out to Prince Albert or do
Yeah,
something like that. I would love to do something like that. Yeah, there's I feel like I haven't done a lot of that, since like, I've been kind of I entered the scene like a while ago and stuff, and I was like helping friends sometimes, like, putting on shows and stuff, and I was like wasn't doing any music. I wasn't didn't know
I
really
know.
anybody. So at this
It's
age, just doing it now, it's weird.
Yeah, it's just really hard when you're putting on shows and you're doing all that technical
Hmm.
logistical work. It really drains on the creativity because you get through all that stuff and you're like, okay, I've got like a weekend night or to spend to like do something creative and it's like it doesn't just pop all the time, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes you gotta like and that's also habit forming too, right? Like you gotta just go down and get into the studio and start doing something and just whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be produced, it doesn't have to be for consumption, it just has to be for you. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like just to get into that spot that you can actually be creative and just turn on your phone's recorder and just let it listen and
Yeah.
maybe you capture something, maybe you don't, that's worth it, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's I've been trying to get people, like I usually put up the posters onto Dropbox or something and I just say, hey people, like just just download, print them, put them in your coffee room at work, put them wherever, right? It's
Hmm.
just it it takes a nation, right? So it's like just like everybody's, if you want more people to show up, well, then you got to like drag your friends to the show. You can't take no for an answer, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also not the type of person that likes to like hard sell people and say you got to come to this show because I don't know how you are, but when somebody oversells something, it makes me more scrutinize it, right? So then it's like, oh, well, everybody said that these guys were like top tier, blah, blah, blah. So you're sitting there with your arms crossed watching it, and you're kind of like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So I don't like trying to tell people that they have to come to this show because it's going to be the show of the year or something like that,
Oh
because
yeah.
it just, I don't know. I'd rather say, here's a show. It's $10 in advance, 15 at the door. What else you going to do on a Saturday in Prince Albert?
Yeah, like,
You know?
don't go out and party and,
Yeah,
be, because it's fucking Prince Albert.
right.
Anybody watching Prince Albert is no better than anywhere around Saskatchewan. I mean, everywhere around the world's like really shitty, but we all really live around ghettos in Saskatchewan.
And you know what? It's like I've lived in the downtown east side of Vancouver, so
Yeah.
like when I look, like, I mean, yes, there's shit going on like right outside my house. Pretty much, there's a trap house like 4 doors down. It's had fires there, on average once a month. But it's like I've dealt with this stuff before, and here's the thing: it's
Hmm.
like that's a whole part of like what punk, hip hop, and that sort of subculture deals with in lyrical content a lot of the time is, it's like, how do we lift these people up? It's like, I don't know. That's the way I look at things anyways. Is these people are people and they have trauma and they have shit that they're dealing with, same as anybody else, right? So treat them like a human being, and then they won't treat you like you're being an asshole.
Yeah. You
So
have
I
a
don't know.
right. You have a point, man. You have a real big point. It is so true. It's definitely because like lyrically, you can write something and stuff, and it actually like you'll hear screaming, and then you'll look at the lyrics, and you're like, okay, they're trying to make a point here,
Right.
and not try to like put someone in something's face, just like something transparent in front of you. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And a lot of the crime and stuff that happens is all because, like, I mean, not all of it, but poverty, right? So
mhm,
it's like people don't steal a baby formula because they're getting a joy out of it, right?
mhm.
You know, they had options, and a lot of these people, they've gone through all the red tape and they're at their wits' end because the red tape, the going through all the proper channels hasn't worked, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
So my last question for today is like we have talked about a little bit of movies and stuff like that last time I was staying over,
right,
and
right.
I noticed that like you had a couple favorite genres. You like anime, you like a little sci-fi, a little bit of horror. What are your main influences when it gets put into music? What movies do you relate on musically?
Well, I mean, if there was a music to a film sort of thing, it's like Vangelis and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, like, Blade Runner, that sort of like, or even Tangerine Dream too. They have that sort of like, the music really adds element to the story. Like, without having that background texture of music, it's there. But visually, like, I think we were watching the Cyberpunk anime when you were here,
Yeah.
right? But there was there's been a few other ones that have just been really great that have been just like, some have been like completely ludicrous, and other ones that have just been pretty thought provoking. And like, that's some of the stuff, like, like the original Ghost in the Shell anime was all about the whole, what would happen if a human and a robot merged together their consciousnesses. Like, what would happen? Like, what like you have AI, which is completely logical, and then you have humans, which are completely emotionally driven in most ways. And you merge those two concepts. Like, what sort of an entity do you get out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and I think that comes across when you get into, like, you've got digital music and you've got analog music, and you merging those together, and what do you get? And I think that's part of, I like using a lot of analog stuff, and I like having it not be so clean and precise. You know what I mean? Because once you get it to that point, it's so, what's the word? It's so cleansed. There's no humanity left, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you get these people that are like, oh yeah, just run it through this plugin, that plugin, and it just makes it all just completely perfect, right? It's like, fuck perfection. I want to see your scars, right? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, how have you lived? Like, show me that in your music. So, and I think that comes across with some films that are, or anime that are like going into really poignant
Mm-hmm.
morality questions or ethical questions, stuff like that. But sometimes there's just fun, ludicrous stuff. Like, I don't know if you've seen the Mashal. It's bizarre, but it's kind of a take on like Harry Potter, but like, he's going through a magic school, but he's got, all he is just a massive strong guy that can fake any magical spell that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just bizarre, right? So sometimes bizarre is good too, right? It doesn't have to make a point. It just has to be, I don't know, out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it needs to be colorful, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on to the show. It
Anytime.
was really awesome. Next month, we'll be having Blake go from YouTube. He puts on YouTube commentaries of old school and independent wrestling. And then we'll be having Mike Mayo from Waking the Cadaver and grindcore and death metal guitarist. And yeah, thank you, Clay, for coming on the show, man.
No problem, man.
Hope
We'll
you
see
have
you
a
at some
good day.
shows. All right. Yeah, you too, man.
See you in the future.
Oh, yeah. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.